Okay, so you're prepping for a cultural archive manager interview.
That's fantastic.
We've got all your RoleCatcher resources here.
Awesome.
You've got the career guide,
Uh-huh.
the interview guide,
Yes.
and some info on RoleCatcher's AI.
Right?
Let's dive right in to help you nail this thing.
Sounds good.
Think of this deep dive as your secret weapon.
I like it.
We're going to equip you with the knowledge and the confidence to walk into that interview,
Okay.
feeling like the expert you are or soon will be.
What's so fascinating about this role is it's more than just preserving the past.
Yeah.
It's about making it relevant and accessible in our digital age. A cultural archive manager is a bridge between history, technology, and the community. It's a very important role.
And the career guide mentions that while this field is growing,
Uh-huh.
competition can be fierce.
It can be.
So being prepared is key.
Absolutely.
Let's jump right into some sample interview questions
Okay.
from RoleCatcher's interview guide. They've got 7 common ones that are practically guaranteed to come up.
Let's hear them.
Okay, let's start with the classic.
Okay.
Describe your experience managing cultural archives.
Mm-hmm.
Seems straightforward,
Yeah.
but what are they really trying to gauge here?
Well, they want to see the depth and breadth of your experience.
Yeah.
Have you worked with diverse types of materials?
Mhm.
What size collections have you handled?
Yeah.
And importantly, what were some challenges you faced? And how did you overcome them?
Right.
This is your chance to showcase your expertise in the principles and practices
Okay.
of cultural archive management.
So it's not just about listing previous jobs,
No, it's not.
but about showcasing your problem-solving skills
Yeah.
and your ability to handle real-world challenges.
Exactly.
Think about specific projects
Okay.
where you had to make critical decisions,
Mm-hmm.
implement innovative approaches,
Mm-hmm.
or think outside the box.
Yeah.
Did you lead a digitization project?
Right.
Manage a delicate collection?
So-
This is where you bring your experience to life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, before we move on to the next question, I want to touch on something really cool.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze the specific job description
Really?
and tell you exactly which skills to highlight in your CV.
Wow.
It's a really cool feature.
So it's kind of like a personalized roadmap
It is
of your application.
amazing.
That's really neat.
So back to the interview questions.
All right.
Let's say you've nailed the experience question,
Okay.
but then the interviewer asks,
Uh-huh.
can you give me an example of a time you had to make a difficult decision regarding access to sensitive materials?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How do you approach that?
This is where your preparation and understanding of ethical considerations come in.
Okay.
You need to articulate your decision-making process,
Mm-hmm.
highlighting your commitment to both preservation and access.
Right.
Remember, this job often requires balancing competing priorities.
So maybe you could discuss a time when you had to balance the needs of a researcher
Okay.
with the need to protect fragile documents.
Sure.
Or a situation where privacy concerns were a factor,
Mhm.
things like that.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to acknowledge the complexity of these decisions.
Yeah.
Interviewers appreciate thoughtful consideration and a nuanced understanding of the challenges.
Great point. Okay, moving on to question number 3.
All right.
How do you stay up to date with new trends and best practices in cultural archiving?
Oh, interesting.
Clearly, they want to see that you're committed to continuous learning, right? That's a very
Absolutely.
important part of this job.
This field is constantly evolving
Yeah.
with new technologies and methodologies emerging all the time.
Yes.
It's not enough to just mention journals you read.
Mm-hmm.
Think about conferences or workshops you've attended,
Mm-hmm.
professional organizations you belong to, or
Okay.
online courses you've taken.
So it's about showing that you're actively seeking out opportunities
It is.
to learn and grow, not just passively absorbing information.
Precisely.
Okay.
And don't forget to mention how you apply those new learnings in your work.
Right.
For example, if you attended a seminar on digital preservation,
Yeah.
you could discuss how you implemented those strategies in your current role.
That's a great way to demonstrate that you're not just learning for the sake of learning,
Right.
but that you're actively seeking to improve your practice.
Yes. Very good.
Okay, now for a potential follow-up question.
Okay.
What's a recent development in the field that you're particularly excited about, and why?
Oh, that's a fun one.
What's your advice here?
This is your chance to shine.
Right.
It's an opportunity to show your passion for the field
Yeah.
and your understanding of its future direction.
Hmm.
Maybe you're excited about the use of AI for metadata tagging
Uh-huh.
or the development of new preservation techniques for digital art.
Right.
Whatever it is, be ready to explain why it matters
Okay.
and how it could impact your work.
So it's about showing that you're not just knowledgeable,
Yeah.
but also engaged and enthusiastic about the evolution of the field.
Precisely.
Okay.
That passion is contagious.
Yeah.
And it will make a lasting impression on the interviewer.
Now, another amazing thing that RoleCatcher offers is their AI co-pilot.
I've heard about this.
It helps you tailor your answers to specific job applications.
Okay.
And you can even practice with video and get AI feedback.
Wow.
It's really, really helpful.
It's like having a personal coach
It is.
right in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Okay, let's get back to those questions.
Right.
The next one is all about juggling multiple responsibilities.
Okay.
How do you prioritize competing demands in managing an archive?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is where they're assessing your time management and organizational skills.
Right.
Managing an archive involves a lot of things. Processing new acquisitions,
Okay.
fulfilling research requests, overseeing preservation efforts,
Right.
and managing budgets. It's a lot to handle.
It is a lot.
So how do you approach this question without sounding overwhelmed?
That's a good question.
What's the key to showcasing your ability to handle the pressure?
I think the key is to focus on your process.
Okay.
Do you use a specific prioritization system?
Uh-huh.
Do you rely on project management tools?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a clear understanding of your institution's mission and goals?
Right.
And most importantly, how do you apply these principles to your work?
So instead of just saying, I'm organized,
Right.
you give them concrete examples of how you apply that organization in real-world setting.
Exactly.
For example, you could talk about a time when you had to balance multiple projects with tight deadlines.
Sure.
Or how you managed competing requests for access to materials.
Uh-huh.
Explain how you communicated with your team and stakeholders to ensure everything ran smoothly.
I like that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's great.
Now for a potential curveball.
Okay.
Can you tell me about a time you had to say no to a request and how you handled it? That seems tricky.
It does seem tricky.
It does.
Yes.
This is where your communication and interpersonal skills are being evaluated.
Right.
It's not just about saying no,
Uh-huh.
but about doing so professionally and respectfully.
Okay.
You could discuss a time when you had to deny access to materials due to preservation concerns or privacy issues,
Yeah.
and how you communicated that decision clearly while offering alternative solutions if possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about demonstrating your commitment to the integrity of the archive
Yes.
while still maintaining positive relationships with researchers and the public.
Absolutely. And this question also gives you a chance to showcase your problem-solving skills.
Right.
Sometimes finding a creative solution can turn a no into a yes, but.
Okay, let's move on to question number 5.
All right.
How do you ensure the accuracy and completeness of archive materials?
Okay.
This seems like it's all about attention to detail.
It is.
It is very important.
Archives are built on the foundation of accuracy and reliability. The interviewer wants to know that you have a systematic approach to verifying information
Right.
and maintaining the integrity of the collection.
So what are some key things to highlight in your answer?
We'll start by discussing your understanding of why accuracy and completeness are paramount.
Okay.
Then talk about the specific steps you take to verify information.
Mm-hmm.
Do you cross-reference sources?
Mm-hmm.
Implement quality control checks?
Yeah.
Do you have a deep understanding of archival principles and how they apply to ensuring accuracy?
It's about showcasing your meticulous approach
It is.
and your commitment to preserving the historical record accurately. You could also mention specific software or tools used to manage and track data, familiarity with database management systems, and archival software
Okay.
demonstrates your technical proficiency.
Okay, here comes a potential follow-up.
All right.
Can you describe a time you discovered an error in archival materials and how you corrected it?
Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one.
This is a great opportunity to highlight your problem-solving skills and your dedication to accuracy.
Okay.
Maybe you found a discrepancy in a historical document or missing information in a catalog record.
Sure.
Explain the steps you took to investigate the issue, correct the error, and document the process.
Right.
It's about showing that you're not just meticulous,
Yes.
but also resourceful and proactive when it comes to identifying and rectifying errors.
Exactly. It demonstrates your commitment to maintaining the highest standards of accuracy in the archive.
All right, on to question number 6.
Okay, let's hear it.
How do you ensure the accessibility of archives materials while also protecting their integrity.
Ooh, another good one.
This seems like a real balancing act.
It is. It's one of the core challenges of archival work.
Yes.
You need to make materials accessible to researchers and the public while ensuring their long-term preservation.
Right.
It's a challenge.
So how do you find that sweet spot between access and preservation?
That's the question.
What's the key to navigating that tension?
We'll start by acknowledging the importance of both.
Okay.
Then discuss the strategies you use to balance these sometimes competing needs. Do you create digital surrogates of fragile materials? Do you have clear guidelines for handling and accessing original documents?
It's about demonstrating that you understand the delicate balance between making materials available and preserving them for future generations.
Right. Okay. You could also discuss your experience with different access systems, such as online catalogs or reading rooms, and how you've utilized them to facilitate access while safeguarding the materials.
And what about copyright and intellectual property rights?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Those are also important considerations when it comes to access, right?
Absolutely. You need to demonstrate a clear understanding of how copyright and intellectual property rights can impact access to archival materials. Highlighting your knowledge in this area showcases your professionalism and attention to legal and ethical considerations.
Now let's imagine the interviewer throws this at you.
Okay.
Can you give an example of a creative solution you've implemented to make archival materials more accessible?
Ooh, I like that.
Wow. How do you handle that?
This is your chance to showcase your innovation and ability to think outside the box.
Okay.
Perhaps you developed an online exhibit of digitized materials, created educational programs for school groups, or implemented a system for remote access.
Right.
Whatever it is, share a specific example that demonstrates your commitment to engaging a wider audience.
It's about showing that you're not just a custodian of the past,
Right.
but an advocate for making history accessible to everyone.
Exactly, and it highlights your creativity and your dedication to finding new and engaging ways to connect people with archival materials.
All right, we've covered 6 questions so far, and I'm already feeling more prepared.
Me too.
Before we tackle the final question in this set, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI Copilot for a moment.
All right.
We talked about how it helps you tailor your answers and practice with video, but it also provides feedback specific to the job you're applying for, right?
It does. It can analyze the job description and provide insights on the keywords, skills, and experience that the employer is looking for.
So you're not just getting general feedback,
Right.
but targeted advice tailored to the specific role you're pursuing.
Exactly.
That's a real game changer.
It is, and it can significantly increase your chances of making a strong impression and landing the job.
Okay, let's dive back into those questions.
Right, last one.
The final one in this set is, how do you ensure the long-term preservation of archived materials?
Okay.
This one seems to be all about expertise in preservation techniques.
It is. Preservation is at the heart of archival work. The interviewer wants to know that you have a deep understanding of the factors that can damage materials, and that you have strategies in place to mitigate those risks.
So what are some key things to touch on in your answer? What will really impress them?
First, discuss your knowledge of different preservation methods. Do you have experience with environmental monitoring and control? Do you understand the principles of proper storage and handling? Do you know how to create a preservation plan and implement it effectively?
It's about showcasing your expertise in creating a safe and stable environment.
It is.
For the long-term preservation of archival materials.
Right.
You could also talk about your experience with conservation treatments, digital preservation strategies, or disaster preparedness.
Sure.
Having a plan in place to protect materials in case of a fire, flood, or other emergency is crucial.
Yes, very important. It shows that you're thinking ahead and taking proactive steps to safeguard the collection.
Now let's imagine the interviewer asks,
Okay.
what's the biggest preservation challenge you've faced, and how did you address it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is a good one.
It is.
This is your chance to showcase your problem-solving skills.
All right.
And your dedication to preserving cultural heritage.
Okay.
Perhaps you had to deal with a collection of deteriorating photographs,
Yeah.
a mold outbreak in the storage area,
Right.
or the challenge of migrating digital materials to new formats. Share a specific example that demonstrates your expertise and your ability to find solutions to complex problems.
I like it.
It's about showing that you're not just knowledgeable about preservation techniques,
Right.
but that you can apply that knowledge in real-world situations to overcome challenges and protect valuable materials.
Exactly. It demonstrates your resourcefulness and your commitment to the long-term preservation of cultural heritage.
Okay, we've covered all 7 questions.
Wow.
But before we move on to the next section, I want to emphasize one thing that really stood out to me in the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
Okay. What's that?
It's the emphasis on making cultural archives more accessible to a wider audience.
That's really important.
It is. It's a challenge that many institutions are grappling with.
They are.
And it's one that interviewers might be particularly interested in hearing your thoughts on.
That's a fantastic point.
It is.
It's a question that goes beyond the technical aspects of archive management and really gets at the heart of the role's impact on society.
So before we continue in part 2, take some time to think about how you would approach this challenge.
I will.
What innovative ideas do you have for making cultural archives more inclusive and accessible to everyone?
I'll give that some thought.
That's great.
Thanks.
I think it's really important.
I do too.
To think about that ahead of time.
I agree.
All right, we'll be back with part 2 soon.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
Sounds good. Yeah, it really pushes you to think critically and creatively about the future of cultural heritage.
Yeah.
You know, how do we make these collections relevant and engaging for everyone?
Exactly. And it shows you're thinking beyond the day-to-day tasks and considering the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The role of archives in society.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, speaking of broader impact,
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the Career Insights section in RoleCatcher's Career Guide.
Oh, yeah.
It goes beyond interview prep.
Okay.
And maps out potential career paths, certifications, even networking opportunities.
It's a great resource.
It is. It's a valuable roadmap for anyone serious about a career in this field.
I agree.
It's one thing to land the job, but it's another to envision where that job can lead you.
That's true.
And the guide does a fantastic job of outlining the different stages of a cultural archive manager's career.
It really does.
Right? It starts with the assistant cultural archive manager, who typically focuses on supporting senior staff, gaining hands-on experience with collections, and assisting with digitization efforts.
Right.
It's a great way to learn the ropes and build a solid foundation.
It is a good starting point.
Then as you progress to junior cultural archive manager, you might take on more responsibility for managing specific projects or collections.
Sure.
You might be involved in developing preservation strategies, supervising staff, or even contributing to exhibition planning.
So more responsibility.
More responsibility, exactly.
Got it.
And at the senior level, you could be leading a team, setting the strategic direction for the entire archive.
Wow.
Managing budgets, forging partnerships with other institutions, and mentoring junior staff.
That's the dream.
It's quite a journey.
It is.
It is. And the guide even includes profiles of individuals at each level, which really helps personalize the information.
Oh, that's nice.
You can see how real people have navigated these career paths and get a sense of what a day in their shoes might look like.
That's really helpful.
I love that it makes the information more relatable and less abstract.
I agree.
Now, let's say you're in the interview
and
they ask you about your long-term career goals. How can you use the insights from the career guide to craft a compelling answer?
Well, you can leverage the information about different career stages to demonstrate that you've thought about your future in this field. You can express your aspirations for growth and highlight the specific skills and experiences you hope to gain as you advance.
So instead of just saying, I want to move up the ladder, you can articulate a clear vision for your career trajectory.
Exactly.
Using the guide's insights as a framework.
I like it.
And you can also mention specific certifications. Like certified archivist or digital archive specialist that you might pursue to enhance your expertise and demonstrate your commitment to professional development.
Those are good to have.
That's a great point. Those certifications can be real differentiators, especially in a competitive job market.
Absolutely.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to the topic of accessibility that we touched on earlier. The career guide really emphasizes the importance of making cultural archives more inclusive and engaging for diverse audiences.
It does, and that's a challenge that's becoming increasingly important.
It is.
As cultural institutions strive to be more representative and relevant to their communities.
Exactly. So let's brainstorm some ideas.
All right.
How can we make archives more welcoming and accessible to people from all backgrounds?
Well, one important step is to diversify the collections themselves.
Okay.
We need to actively seek out materials from underrepresented communities and ensure that the archive reflects the full spectrum of voices and experiences.
That's crucial. We can't just tell the same old stories from the same dominant perspectives.
Exactly.
We need to broaden the narrative and make sure that everyone sees themselves represented in the archive.
I agree.
Absolutely. And it's not just about what we collect. It's also about how we present and interpret those materials.
That's a good point.
We need to be mindful of the language we use and the context we provide to ensure that we're not perpetuating harmful stereotypes or biases.
Absolutely. We need to be critical of the power dynamics that have shaped traditional archival practices and find ways to decolonize and democratize access to information.
Exactly. And we need to think creatively about how we can make archival materials more engaging and relevant to different audiences.
I like that.
We can't just expect people to come to us.
Right.
We need to go out into the community and meet people where they are.
I love that idea.
Perhaps we could develop traveling exhibits that bring archival materials to different community centers or schools.
That's great.
Or we could create interactive online exhibits that allow people to explore the archive from anywhere in the world.
Those are fantastic ideas.
And we can also leverage technology to create new ways for people to engage with archival materials.
Absolutely.
We could develop mobile apps that allow people to access collections on their phones or use virtual reality to create immersive experiences that transport people back in time.
Those are incredible possibilities.
It's exciting to think about how technology can break down traditional barriers to access and open up the world of archives to everyone.
It really is.
And let's not forget about the power of partnerships.
Oh, that's important.
By collaborating with community organizations, schools, and other cultural institutions, we can reach new audiences and build stronger connections with the community.
I completely agree. We can't do this work in isolation.
No, we can't.
We need to work together to ensure that cultural archives are truly accessible and relevant to everyone.
Speaking of working together, I think it's time to revisit those career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide.
Okay.
We talked about career paths and certifications, but the guide also highlights the importance of networking.
It does. Networking is essential for anyone looking to build a career in this field.
It's a way to learn about job openings. Stay up to date on industry trends and find mentors who can guide you along the way.
That's right. The guide recommends attending industry events and conferences, joining online forums and discussion groups, and connecting with professionals through platforms like LinkedIn.
Right.
It's about building relationships and expanding your professional circle.
And don't underestimate the power of informational interviews.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Reaching out to people you admire and asking for a few minutes of their time can be incredibly valuable.
You can learn about their career paths, gain insights into the field, and get advice on how to position yourself for success.
That's a great tip.
It is.
And it's a way to show initiative and build connections that could lead to future opportunities.
Absolutely.
Remember, people in this field are passionate about their work.
They are.
And are often willing to share their knowledge and experiences with those who are just starting out.
That's true.
Now, as we move towards wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I want to bring up a point that the career guide touched upon, different types of cultural archives. It made me realize that this field is more diverse than people might think.
You're absolutely right. Cultural archives can encompass a wide range of institutions and collections.
Yeah. You could be working in a museum, a library, a historical society, a government agency, a university, or even a private corporation.
That's a lot of options.
And the types of materials you might be managing are just as diverse.
Okay.
We've talked about documents and photographs, but cultural archives can also include artifacts, textiles, audio recordings, video footage, digital files, and even architectural plans.
It's incredible to think about the breadth of human history and culture that is represented in these collections.
It is.
And it's the job of the cultural archive manager to ensure that these materials are preserved, organized, and made accessible for generations to come.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
I agree.
And I think it's important to remember that no matter what type of cultural archive you're working in, the fundamental principles of archival management remain the same.
You're right. It's all about preserving the integrity of the materials, ensuring their accuracy and completeness, making them accessible to researchers and the public, and managing them in a way that's ethical and responsible.
Exactly. And I think those principles can guide you as you navigate your career in this field.
I agree.
No matter what path you choose to take.
That's a good point.
So as we move on to part 3 of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want you to keep those principles in mind
I will.
as we explore some final thoughts and challenges for the future of cultural archiving.
Sounds good.
Wow, we've covered so much in this deep dive into cultural archive management.
We have.
From those tough interview questions to making archives more inclusive and accessible for everyone.
It's been a great discussion.
And I think throughout we've shown how RoleCatcher's resources can be your secret weapon.
Absolutely. They're AI-powered tools. Comprehensive career guides and interview practice resources can really give you an edge in your job search.
They can, and they've really thought of everything to empower individuals in their job search.
They have.
But beyond the practical tips and tools, what's really resonated with me is the passion that drives this field.
Yeah, it's inspiring to see people so dedicated to preserving our shared history and making it accessible to everyone.
It is. And they really understand that archives aren't just about the past. They're about understanding our present and shaping our future.
That's a great way to put it.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
A challenge that's particularly relevant in our digital age.
Yeah.
We've talked about preserving existing collections.
Right.
But what about the records being created right now? How do we ensure that the digital footprints of today become the cultural archives of tomorrow?
That's a big question.
It is a big question. It's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to capture lightning in a bottle.
I like that analogy.
Think about the sheer volume of digital information we create every day.
Yeah.
Social media posts, emails, videos, online articles.
It's a lot.
It's overwhelming.
It is.
And so much of it is ephemeral. It disappears quickly, or it becomes inaccessible as technology evolves.
Right, like old floppy disks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the challenge for future cultural archive managers is to figure out how to capture and preserve this digital deluge in a way that's meaningful and accessible to future generations.
It's a huge task.
It is a monumental task.
It requires us to rethink traditional archival methods and develop new approaches for managing digital information at scale.
We need to develop selection criteria that prioritize materials documenting significant events, cultural trends, and social movements.
Right, because not everything created digitally has lasting cultural value.
Exactly. We need to be curators, not just collectors.
I agree.
And we need to ensure authenticity and reliability.
Yes, because digital information is so easily manipulated.
It is.
So verifying authenticity and ensuring the integrity of digital archives is critical.
And just as we discussed with physical collections,
Yeah,
accessibility is paramount.
it is.
We need to make these digital archives searchable, navigable, and understandable to people who might not be familiar with today's technologies.
Right, we might need to develop new forms of metadata, interactive tools, or even virtual reality experiences to help people contextualize and interpret these digital materials.
And what about the technical challenges?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Technology changes so rapidly.
Yeah.
So how do we ensure long-term preservation of digital information?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's like building a time capsule
Yeah,
that can withstand the digital equivalent of earthquakes and floods.
exactly. We need to find ways to migrate data to new formats as needed to ensure continued accessibility.
Right.
This might involve collaborating with computer scientists and digital preservation experts to develop sustainable solutions.
It's a daunting challenge,
It is.
but it's also incredibly exciting.
It is.
The digital records of today hold invaluable insights into our culture, our values, and our lived experiences. And it's our responsibility to ensure that those insights are preserved for future generations.
I agree.
So as you embark on your journey into the world of cultural archive management, I encourage you to embrace this challenge.
It's a good challenge to have.
Think beyond the traditional boundaries of the archive.
Okay.
Embrace the possibilities of the digital age.
All right.
And find creative ways to ensure that the stories of today are preserved for the generations of tomorrow.
It's a mission that's both daunting and incredibly inspiring.
It is.
And with the knowledge, the tools, and the passion we've discussed today, you have everything you need to make a real difference.
You do. Good luck and keep on diving deep.
Thanks for having me, Matt.